Hello, everyone. This is the Faithful Life Podcast. I'm Matt Jacobson of FaithfulMan.com.
And I'm Lisa Jacobson of Club31Women.com. We're so glad you're here with us.
At Faithful Life, we explore what it means to be a biblical Christian in today's world, in our marriage, parenting, church, and culture.
It's real, raw, and relevant.
So let's get started. Well, hello, everybody.
Yes, hello, friends.
Hey, welcome back to Faithful Life. We hope you had a faithful life this week.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, listen, we are just glad to be here with you. We've kind of had a big week ourselves as we are on the front end of the launch of our books that are going to be released October 1.
Which is today.
They're going to be released today. I need to ask Lisa what time it is often as well. Anyway, yeah, they're released today. And so we are just excited about that. We've been working hard in trying to get the word out, trying to let people know. And today, we're going to be talking about talking.
Okay. And the power of words.
Exactly. So we're going to talk about a couple of the books that are part of this launch. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. Want to take a moment on the front end to say thank you for those who've been our partners in this podcast, the people that have supported us on a monthly basis. Thank you. It is a huge blessing. And frankly, for what we're trying to accomplish, it's necessary because we need your help. If there's anybody else out there that's enjoying the message and wants to be part of helping to push that message forward, then just go to faithfulman.com/donate and you can help us in this effort. Just make a small monthly donation. So thank you for those who have, and thank you for those who are going to. We really appreciate it. But here we are. Today we're talking about two books that are part of this 4-book release, which is a lot of books, actually.
Yeah.
But hey, why not set a precedent? Release 4 books at a time. I don't know. I've been in book publishing for my career. I don't even know when that's ever happened.
Yeah, I've never heard of such a thing. But hey, it's kind of exciting, kind of fun because it's a collection that all go together. So if you are ready to upgrade your marriage, these are some wonderful, simple ways to do that.
Absolutely. So the first set of books is 100 Ways to Love Your Wife, 100 Ways to Love Your Husband. And those are part of this 4-book set. But the ones that we're going to be talking about today are 100 Words of Affirmation Your Husband Needs to Hear, and 100 Words of Affirmation Your Wife Needs to Hear.
Yes, along our journey of being married, we found increasingly just the power behind the words that we speak to one another. And I think we're all kind of aware of that. And we've talked about this on the show several times now, just about that impact that your words have on the other person, have on your relationship, and even back on yourself. It's amazing to me how when the way we communicate, how it trickles down to so many different ways and people, even, and onto your children even.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just way beyond the one-on-one communication with the other person. Yeah, it's a huge impact for sure. Now, there is a discussion out there about affirmation as being one of the love languages, words of affirmation.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, you hear that a lot. And I think one of the dangers is thinking in those terms of, oh, well, this is my love language, or that is my... Now, it's super important to know what's important, what is of value to your spouse. It's very important to know those things. And so we wouldn't want to in any way diminish the understanding that a husband or a wife needs to have of their spouse. That's important. So I'm an acts of service kind of guy. Lisa is a quality time kind of girl. So that's what we know is very important in our marriage for each other. But by categorizing these things as, oh, this is the way I am, or this is the way you are, you actually miss something that's vital in marriage.
Yeah, it's almost be like saying, well, if touch isn't my love language, so then Matt would never touch me, right? Because that's not my love language. Well, it's just not my top love language, but it doesn't mean I don't want to be touched and need to be touched. So that's kind of what we're saying here, right?
So this is, going to be a shorter podcast, I think, than...
Great. Keep on task, babe.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, so that's the point that we would want to make about this whole business of what is your principal love language as opposed to some of the other options out there. This book, Words of Affirmation, 100 Words of Affirmation Your Wife Needs to Hear, 100 Words of Affirmation Your Husband Needs to Hear. Words of affirmation are something that are a vital part of every healthy marriage. They're
Hmm.
a vital part of every healthy marriage culture within your home. And by saying marriage culture, we're talking about that essence, that way of being that touches all of those other relationships that are part of your marriage, the people that intersect with your marriage in the home, like your kids, right?
Hmm.
And the people that intersect with your marriage in church or even in the community. See, that's your marriage culture that other people are interacting with. Words of affirmation are a vital part of the marriage culture in your home. So don't let yourself think, oh, just because this isn't my principal or my first choice love language, that it is important, because how we speak, what we say, have a massive impact on the culture that you're developing in your home and how you're affecting other people, how you're teaching other people.
Yeah, using the power of words to build up your marriage, to encourage the other person, to inspire them. That is true for whoever you are, no matter what your love language is.
Now, one of the things is we often, and we've talked about this a little bit ago about intentions. We have good intentions, right? But sometimes we kind of run out of content for the follow through of those intentions, right? So we
Hmm.
want to say kind things. We want to build up our spouse. We want to say things that they find encouraging and that will lift their spirits. But we kind of run out of content sometimes.
Yeah, or like someone like me like I've shared with this. I've been really open with you all on this journey that I've been on. That it didn't come naturally to me. I feel like for Matt, it's just more natural for him to encourage and say those things that are positive. And for me, I want to encourage him. I just didn't even know kind of what to say or how you would say it. So these books, these are so helpful for saying you could say something like this.
Absolutely. So we thought it might be kind of fun, as these books are releasing today, the 100 Words of Affirmation books. We thought it might be kind of fun to go ahead and read the introductions of the
Yeah.
books and maybe share a little bit of the content. And if you guys are interested, these are available as a bundle. And so you can go buy these. I think Prime has these at 75, or rather 25% off
Yes.
if you buy them both together. So it's actually a real savings, and it's also free shipping. So you can certainly do that if you are inclined, and they're available right now.
Yeah, and just so you know, this is a sneak peek. This is the first time we've shared this publicly, the content from our
Yeah.
books.
And they're absolutely available everywhere. You certainly can get them at faithfulman.com and club31women.com through the stores there. And tragically, we can't offer Prime. So
I've heard they're available at Target as well. Some people were saying that the Target was also featuring them. So
absolutely. And for those of you who like to buy at Christian Book Distributors, it's just like it's the most amazing discount option for Christian books on the planet. And there's nobody like them. There's nobody even close to them. So you can check that out as well, and you can get them there. So, but anyway, we thought we'd read the introduction and of both books and maybe some of the content, just to share it with you, just to give you a flavor of the kinds of things that are in these books. So I'll just start with mine.
okay, go.
Okay. So here's the introduction to 100 Words of Affirmation Your Wife Needs to Hear. She wants to know what you think, but she especially wants to know what you think of her. Do you value her? Care how she feels? Respect her? Honor her? Feel close to her? Need her? As husbands, we can think and feel all these things deeply and still never say them, never tell her how we feel about her. And there are other voices that will never be silent. The voice inside your wife's head, the voice speaking from every clothing ad, the voice calling from every corner of society, telling her, you're not good enough. You don't measure up. You're too much this. You're not enough that. They're convincing voices that tear her down and diminish her. But your voice is powerful too, and far more important in your wife's heart than anything this world has to say. That's why it's important for you to use your power to speak affirming words into your wife's heart today, tomorrow, and every day God gives you together. Maybe it's difficult for you to find the words. In this simple, powerful book are 100 words that help you get started affirming your wife's great importance and value to you and the people she knows. Do this, and you will discover what every happy, fulfilled husband has learned. The husband who sincerely and consistently fills his wife's heart with affirming words of love soon discovers that she returns to him far more than he ever poured into her soul. So that's the introduction. Let me just read one of the entries. Oh, here we go. Number 5. Yes, I fantasize all the time
Great.
about you.
Wow.
All right. So here's the entry for number 5 about fantasizing in a maybe
We're all listening.
less than.
I'm definitely listening.
Okay. She knows you're tempted. She knows you get offers of various kinds. She's all too aware of this sex-soaked, filth-saturated world you both inhabit. And she wonders, what is he feeling? What is he thinking? What is his thought life like? Does he fantasize about sex? First of all, there is no room, absolutely no room, for anything but total faithfulness to your wife. Anything less than total faithfulness is unfaithfulness. For those who might wonder whether a given activity, with the body or the mind, is being unfaithful, just ask yourself this. If my wife discovered me doing this by chance, would I feel ashamed? Would she feel honored? Got your answer? So, no worries. Let your imagination go, because there's nothing wrong with thinking about sex with your wife. Tell her, 1, she is the only focus of your sexual interest. You think about her all the time. And 2, she is the only outlet for your sexual passion. Give your wife the beautiful peace of knowing you are faithful, even in the secret places of your thought life.
We absolutely want to hear that from our husbands. And I think back, especially specific times in our marriage, in my life, where I felt very vulnerable to those insecurities, those worries. And just even, for example, when I would be pregnant, especially early on when I was still getting used to this whole idea of my body changing, and everything I had grown up with told me that your body needs to look a certain way to be attractive. And so when my body started growing and softening and growing, it threw me for a loop. And I was really worried that you would still find me attractive. And so to hear from you, which you did communicate to me, no, I love you just the way you are. I love what God is doing in your body and with your body. And that was very, very, very powerful for me.
Well, you know, it's really a fact for anybody who is seeking to be a biblical Christian to recognize that your spouse, and in this case, we're talking about men to wives, your wife has the right to expect you to think of nobody but her. She has that right. You have the discipline and the responsibility before the Lord to say no to sexual temptation, to say no to a sexual thought life. And so every wife needs to hear and needs this security spoken into her heart and life that she is the focus of your sexual interest and your sexual outlet. And so that's one of the entries in 100 Words of Affirmation, affirming her in who she is to you as a sexual being and as somebody that you're interacting with on that level, and how you restrict yourself from all the other temptations out there. It just brings security, and it brings a sense of strength and confidence to your wife's heart.
Oh, so true. Yeah, very, very, very
Okay.
powerful.
You should read the introduction and maybe offer one of yours too.
Okay. Words have meaning. I've heard it all my life. Maybe you have too. The power of the spoken word. Words that can hurt, words that can heal. And I wouldn't be surprised if you've experienced both kinds. You've known what it's like to have words spoken over you, some of which you'll never forget. You now have that same incredible opportunity to communicate in ways that will dramatically influence the rest of your husband's days. Life-changing words, that amazing gift of spoken love. Maybe this is a gift you've been longing to give him, but you're uncertain what to say or how to say it. Maybe you grew up in a home that didn't talk like this, kindly, lovingly, openly, and it's uncomfortable for you. I understand what that's like. Speaking words of affirmation did not come naturally to me. Such phrases didn't easily flow from my lips like I felt they should. But I made myself speak them anyway because I was convinced my husband needed to hear them. What I didn't know then was that those words would not only change his life, they would change both our lives. He would never be the same again, and neither would our relationship. Our marriage is decidedly different, and all because of words. So, If you're at a loss of what to say or wonder if it will actually even make a difference, I'm here to tell you it will. And this book is filled with many, literally 100, ways you can build up your husband and your marriage, one powerful word at a time.
And I want to just interject before you read your next
Okay.
your entry. This is literally an outflow of how we have lived and how we've walked. What you're getting in these books is a window and an insight into our marriage. And I'm going to say this, and I do say it respectfully, and I say it humbly. Lisa and I can both say, follow our example in marriage. And it isn't because we walk on water, and it isn't because there's somehow we're just good at it, and you can do what we do if you do what we do.
In fact, we admit to our mistakes and errors in this book as well. It's not
totally.
just our wins are in here,
Oh,
right?
That's for sure.
So
That's for sure. But the point is that what we have striven to do is to take the Word of God and apply those specifics to the facets of our marriage. And so what these books contain is basically the outflow and the practical experience and the practical wisdom of having done that. So these books really are just an outflow of our marriage, and you're going to have a window and an insight into our marriage when you get into these books and into the detail of them.
all right, so here's number 8. I'm here if you ever need someone to listen. I tend to be the talker in our relationship, and my husband knows that about me. Thankfully, he likes that about me too.
I do.
Whenever we go out for one of our afternoon drives, he'll grab the wheel, and before we're at the end of the driveway, he'll say, "Okay, babe, start talking." I don't have to be asked twice. This is my cue to begin the download, the things I've been struggling with, worried about, or excited by, all the things. He drives, and I talk. But one day, I decided to do a long overdue experiment. What if I didn't do so much of the talking? What if I kept quiet instead? And not an I'm put out kind of quiet. He knows that one too. But more of a I'm listening if you have something on your heart kind of quiet. Sure enough, after some time had passed, he began to tell me things I'd not heard before. He shared dreams I'd not known he'd tucked away, and burdens I'd not realized he'd carried. He only needed someone to listen, and from then on, I was determined that someone would be me. Perhaps your husband could use a reminder that you'd be glad to listen to whatever is on his heart or weighing on his mind. Make it clear that you're there for him.
Yeah.
I think as women, now this is generally because I've had women tell me that sometimes the husband's the talker, but
Mhm.
most of the time it's often the woman that's the talker that wants to communicate, that needs those words out there. And in that process, we can forget that, that you also have things on your heart and mind.
Mhm.
You might just not be as forceful in expressing them, or
Mhm.
have the opportunity to know that this is a safe place and that we'll just listen and be there for you.
Yeah.
So I think it's really
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. I think that is something that characterizes just a lot of marriages out there, and I love it when when you take the time to listen to what I'm. I don't always have something that I want to speak, but when I do, you're there and you take the time to listen to what I have to say. Now, I know, ironically, a lot of women are saying, "Well, he never listens to me," but you know what? It goes both ways. Certainly,
Yes.
it does, because you need me to listen to you. But man, I need you. I need you to care about what I'm thinking, to care about what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the guys have a tougher time getting that out. But yeah.
And sometimes I think even it's the things that maybe it's something business. For me, it's just like a business issue. And so it doesn't seem that interesting. But when I listen with my heart and realize, hey, this is not just about business. This is about decisions that are weighing on you. This is about how you're providing for your family, or different things like that. So that also helps me to be a better listener. This is not just a business proposition. It
Yeah.
really is connected to who you are as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So here's another one from 100 Words of Affirmation your wife needs to hear.
Okay.
All right. When was the last time you said this to your wife? I have total confidence in you. It made me sad recently as I heard a wife tell of the lack of confidence her husband had in her. She had a dream, but he had told her he didn't think she could do it.
Mm.
So she didn't. And it's 17 years later. She still hasn't done it. Lisa and I both know she has everything it takes to do this thing. She could have climbed that mountain. The husband's words have great power. Sometimes that's the good news, and sometimes it's the bad news. Does your wife know unequivocally that you totally believe in her ability to do it? Does she believe you have deep confidence in her capacity to achieve great things? God put the two of you together and told you, in effect, look after her, nurture her, cherish her. In great measure, your wife's confidence in herself will come from your confident belief in her. She needs to hear about the confidence you have in her, and she needs to hear it directly from you. So, when was the last time you said, I have total confidence in you?
I can't even begin to say how powerful that is to be told that by your husband. And I can think of the many times where I was doubting whether I could do something, should do something, whether it was homeschooling or Club 31 Women or ministry at church, any of those things. And to hear you say, I know that you can do this and I am behind you 100%, just was God has used just in a powerful way with
Yeah,
me.
absolutely. And I'm sure there's some wives out there that need to hear that from their husbands.
Yeah,
You bet.
and man, you cannot imagine how much your wife, no matter, even if she seems like she's confident, how much she needs to hear your confidence in her.
And that's one of the benefits of these books, because I know that there are a lot of things in these books that you wouldn't just normally automatically begin to think of when you think of things that you want to say or how you want to affirm your wife. And that's why these books have been written, and that's the benefit and the blessing of them, is they really focus your thinking on this, so many facets and aspects of your marriage where you can speak that positive word into the heart of your wife.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's another excerpt from 100 Words of Affirmation Your Husband Needs to Hear. And like we said earlier on, these are personal for us. These are how they look like in our marriage. So your marriage, your situation will look differently, but we're hoping that even as you hear them, it will inspire your own thoughts and words that are particular to your marriage.
Yeah.
All right. Number 85. You take good care of our children's hearts. Our youngest daughter cannot walk or run. She's been sitting in a wheelchair for as long as I can remember. She's 18 years old now, but rather childlike in most ways. A girl's heart in a woman's body. Avonlea does a pretty good job of cheering for other people her age who can do things she cannot, such as run or play games or sports or dance. Our family will enjoy the occasional old-fashioned swing dance where we all take turns getting out on the dance floor. But on one particular evening, no one seemed to notice one young girl, our sweet girl, watching everyone out there dancing with deep longing in her eyes. But my husband didn't miss it. He could see her heart ached to dance like the rest of the young people. He came over, swooped her up out of her wheelchair, carried her over to the dance floor, and twirled her around in his arms. She giggled with joy while they danced the night away. And the rest of us had tears in our eyes while we watched those two. If you're married to the kind of man who quietly looks after your children's hearts, thank him for this dearest gift to your family.
You know, there's a lot of ways that dads do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just caring about and being interested in your kids and listening to them and supporting them. You know, there's a lot of things I think in fatherhood that's just sort of the unsung moment.
I think that's true.
And so to hear those things from your wife, to have them registered by somebody whose good opinion you care about, it's just powerful. Mm-hmm. It's really, really powerful. So that's such an awesome thing a wife can do for her husband, just to notice those things that you're not going to read about in the paper.
Right.
But that happen throughout the week and on a regular basis. Well, hey, here's another one from 100 Words of Affirmation Your Wife Needs to Hear. And this is number 94. You're no pushover. I love your spine of steel.
Glad to hear you say that.
All right. Oh, goodness. Lisa's about the size of Jiminy Cricket, but she's tough. So I'll let you all in on a little secret. I'm married to one strong lady. This is very important because of another little secret. I'm a little bit strong-willed myself.
Imagine that.
I know, it's a shock. And I can tell you honestly that there have been times when I've been really frustrated with how strong she is. But the older I get and the more we are blessed to enjoy these years together, it has become very clear exactly why God put me with this strong woman. I needed her spine of steel alongside me in this ministry journey we've had these last 20 years. If she had the spine of a wet noodle, my personality would have run right over the top of her.
True story.
A woman's strength is a man's great blessing. Are you married to a strong lady? Recognize early her great strength is her great gift to you. Recognize how necessary it is in your own maturity and development, and be sure to tell her how much you appreciate that aspect of her character. Well, most of the time anyway.
Oh, that's good. I as a woman, I do want you to I want to hear from you that you appreciate how God made me. And I don't have to be somebody else that someone else has prescripted, but I can thrive in my own particular strengths, and that they are actually help you be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it's really easy to confuse the godly injunction, the biblical injunction in Ephesians 5 about submitting to your husband.
mm-hmm.
It's really easy to confuse that with having a spine of steel, with being a strong woman. And you can be a tremendously strong-hearted woman, and you can still fulfill that role of submission to your husband.
Mm-hmm.
But so, for instance, in our marriage, if submission meant that Lisa was never supposed to open her mouth and never supposed to offer her opinion and never supposed to check me with something that was of a concern to her or maybe some intuition that she had, if she never did that, Now, I've made some bad mistakes, and several of them have been because I didn't listen to that strength that you were offering in the moment. Now, this is a huge blessing in your marriage. And there's another thing too that goes with speaking this word of affirmation over your wife, how you appreciate her strength. There might be some men out there hearing this that think, wow, if I was to celebrate this aspect of my wife's character to her, it would make her be even that much more maybe forward in the marriage and
or dominating
or
right?
whatever. You know what? The exact opposite is true. When you celebrate somebody else's wins, when you celebrate somebody else's strengths, when you celebrate somebody else's giftings, it actually brings them closer to you.
That's right. Yeah.
It builds the relationship, and there's a greater degree of trust in that relationship, because essentially what you're saying is, I'm not diminished by your great strength. And so don't be worried about that. You celebrate the strength of your wife. And first of all, just thank God for what an awesome gift that is. It'll keep you out of all kinds of trouble if you embrace it, and also tell her you just love her spine of steel.
Yeah, because you appreciate and respect my strengths, I know the impact it'll have on whatever it is that I present
Absolutely.
to you. And so I do try to be so much more careful then about what I come to you with, knowing that, wow, if I share this with him or if I ask this of him, then I better be mindful of the results.
Yeah, he's going to listen.
Yes.
He's going to receive it.
Truly.
And therefore, the results you get to own.
Yeah. So
You're part of it.
It's a sobering in the
Exactly.
best sense of it. You know, just to
Absolutely.
I want to be wise and careful with that card.
Yeah.
You know.
So there it is, guys. 100 words of affirmation your wife needs to hear. And I just read 3 different entries that are representative of the kind of content you'll find in the book. It's filled with all kinds of other entries that cover so many different facets and aspects of your relationship. But listen, you have an amazing gift at your disposal, an amazing power at your disposal to speak that power into the heart of your wife. So listen, get a copy of this book, all right? Get one for your wife and just read it and start thinking in terms of, how can I bless the socks off this woman that I am living with, that I pledge my life and my love to? How can I build her up in a way that just causes her to soar? That's what this is about. And it just brings such strength and closeness and appreciation and just a real encouragement to love even more deeply in your marriage. But hey, you've got one more, don't you?
Yeah. I'd like to just finish up with one more excerpt
Awesome.
from 100 Words of Affirmation your husband needs to hear. It's number 98 toward the end. I never want to lose you. I thought I lost my husband for a minute there. Early in the morning, he had a bad fall on the ice and cracked his head. I knew something was wrong the moment he came in the house, the look in his eyes and the ashen color of his skin. It wasn't until later, when he was settled in, that I admitted my fears. All I could think of were all the things I hadn't told him. He said that while lying there on the ice, all he could think of were those things he hadn't done for me. Isn't that funny? Just like you and me. The moment was sobering for us both, and I couldn't help but notice afterward the renewed sense of affection and appreciation we had for each other. We touched each other more and became more playful. We sensed a new lightness that comes from realizing you had a close call, but God showed mercy. So you can guess what I'm going to say, can't you? Yeah. Don't wait for a close call. Why wait for a call at all? Just reach for him. Tell him you never want to be without him.
Yeah, I think one of the great fictions in life is that, hey, we've got tomorrow, we've got next week, we've got our golden years together.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our empty nest years together. We've just got the future, and we've got these plans.
When this settles down, when that comes
Absolutely.
through.
Well,
Yeah.
always looking to tomorrow for that time when we're really going to focus on each other and really going to come together. This is such a deceit. It is such a fiction. Here's what we have. We have the moment we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have today. We have this time. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know what will happen. We literally have no grip on the future. The only thing we have is right now. And that is such a reminder of, no, love your wife, love your husband in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last thing you would want is to have anything other than a loving moment if today was the last day that God gave you with your spouse on this earth. So that's a great word. Yeah, that was a great moment. I remember what
that?
happened. Yeah. Went outside and it had been, it was kind of a freezing rain, and I didn't really realize it. And I just went off the steps and bam, I don't know how long I laid there. I hit my head really hard. I was just out there for however long. But anyway, God had mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it. He gave us some more time, but the time he's given us for sure is the moment we're in right now. So anyway, listen, folks, love each other. Choose to love each other. Choose to build each other up with words of affirmation. That's what these books are about. So 100 Words of Affirmation, your wife needs to hear, and 100 Words of Affirmation, your husband needs to hear. And again, what's the deal? You can get these right now.
If you buy them as a bundle on Amazon, and you just type in 100 Words of Affirmation paperback bundle, I think is what it's called, they're 25% off when you buy them that way.
Absolutely.
So, and they're on Prime, and so that's free shipping.
And one last thing, everybody. Anybody who goes out and buys a bundle, and you just send me at mlj@faithfulman.com,
Okay.
send me a screenshot of your receipt. I'll send you and your wife a Faithful Man and Faithful Woman wristband, just as a thank you. All right? So if you do that, just go out and buy your bundle, send me a screenshot of the receipt. I want to send each of you a wristband, Faithful Man, Faithful Woman wristband. So anyway.
And we're just genuinely excited about these books, but not just because we wrote them, but because God is using them in a powerful way to build up marriages everywhere. And that is something that is so close to our hearts. It's a passion that we have, is in this day of age where everything feels like it's tearing people apart and either distracting them or deceiving them, discouraging them. We want to counteract that with these this message, these words that say, no, let's build one another up. Let's intentionally love one another in a powerful way.
I know there are people listening that are wondering, hey, is it even possible in our marriage? But folks, it is. It is so possible for you to have an awesome marriage. In fact, every couple who wants to do things God's way, guaranteed success, because God's outlined how that works. All right. And these books are just an outflow in a practical way of the principles that you find in Scripture. So we just want to encourage you. These books will help you have a deeper, richer, fuller, closer, more fun marriage. And so we just want to encourage you to get them. All right, everybody. Well, that's our podcast. Thanks for being with us today. And thanks for listening as we talked about our books.
Yeah, we sure appreciate you and all the messages that you've been giving us, and the feedback has been just a huge blessing. And we're really grateful.
Yeah, awesome. So listen, you have a great week this week, and we just want to leave you with the last few thoughts that we like to do on our podcast. So everybody, thanks so much for being with us today. We just want to send you off with a blessing from God. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening in to Faithful Life Podcast.
Remember, our God is our rock and our Redeemer.
He knows what you're facing. He knows exactly what this week holds for you.
He loves you and is for you.
So this week, remember, draw near to God, and He will draw near to you.